I used to work for Save the Children for a number of years as a rather ineffective fundraiser, corporate fundraiser, and I was constantly writing out proposals and I was getting a bit browbeaten because I wasn't that great. And then I came across this line that Eglantyne wrote, and she said, "The world is not ungenerous but unimaginative and very busy," and it really struck a chord with me. And so I used to start quoting that in my proposals and presentations, and they started to go a bit better. And I just thought she spoke very immediately to me. And then I left Save the Children to have my first daughter, thereby showing far less commitment to the cause than Eglantyne, who never had children of her own. And I thought it was a good time to find out a bit more about it. And I started reading around in the Save Children archive. And I came across this leaflet which she wrote, which featured a photograph of a starving Austrian child, 2.5 years old, who looked, I've got her 1-year-old at home, and this child looked much, much younger and less developed than my 1-year-old. It's really quite disturbing. And up in the top right-hand corner, there was written in pencil in Eglantyne's handwriting the word "suppressed" with an exclamation mark. And that exclamation mark really showed her personal indignation at the policy of the Liberal government to continue the economic blockade to Europe after the First World War. And I knew then that I was onto a good story. And the more I found out about her, the more fascinating and kind of controversial she became. The question whether Eglantyne that she didn't like children, this is one of the great paradoxes that I love about Eglantyne. She set up this international movement, dedicated her life to children's welfare and promoting children's rights. But she didn't like to be around children. She never had children of her own. She didn't like those of her friends or family. In fact, she called them once the dreadful wretches. And looking back, she said, "The dreadful thought of closer acquaintance never entered my mind." So no, she wasn't fond of children individually. She had no maternal inspiration. She wasn't compelled from any sentimental ideas about innocent children. She was driven by a really strong humanitarian impulse. And the reason that she focused on children were a number of things. She commissioned some very early research into child development, and she came up with she realised that children can never make up the lost ground, both psychologically and physiologically, if they've suffered from starvation. And an adult can recover to a certain extent, but a child will always be set back. So they should really be the first to receive aid in times of in difficult times. And then also, she was very marketing savvy, and she knew that children made a fantastic PR hook and fundraising hook. And in fact, one of her pioneering things she did in fundraising is she got the support of George Bernard Shaw and many other celebrities. First person to get celebrities behind charity fundraising appeals. Can't really imagine charity appeals without celebrities now, but she brought that on. And the quote she used most was a quote from George Bernard Shaw, and he said, "I don't know about you, but I have no enemies under the age of 7." And that really helped people to support her cause, which of course was raising funds for the children of Austria and Germany primarily, who had just been at war with Britain in 1918. Well, Save the Children is a fantastic organisation today, and I used to work here about 7 years ago and in fundraising, and I was very inspired by the work that the organisation was doing then. And now, of course, they're launching the Child Survival Campaign, which is to reduce the rate of infant mortality of children under the age of 5. And I was really shocked when I saw the stats that this year 9 million children will die before their 5th birthday, and of those 2 million are going to die the very day that they're born. I'm very lucky. I have 3 fantastic children. They're 7, 5 and 1. They're absolutely wonderful. And I know that if I could do something to save the life of a child, I would do that. And I'm sure if you could do something to stop a child from dying, that you would do that too. And in fact, that's what I found so inspiring about Eglantyne is that she dedicated her life to create this organisation that has gone on to achieve so much and is still saving the lives and improving the life chances of millions of children around the world. And that's why I've written the book, and that's why I've decided to give all of my author royalties to Save the Children to their programme work. So please go and buy a copy.